God wants us to have a change, to be real, to understand that when we do something, there's a cause and effect. Every kid needs to understand that God has something for them to show them, and that God's love is correcting us. God's love is leading us down a path. Does that make sense? Remember that message we had about the GPS? What's that GPS message? You have to turn on God's love, right? Mm-hmm. What does that mean, that you got to turn it on? Doesn't make sense, right? Who's ever said that? God's love never turns on. Well, sometimes we distance ourselves from it, and we put things in front of it, don't we? So when we get back and we turn that GPS of God's love, what does it start to do?
Leads you
down a path, right? He starts to direct you, doesn't he? So it's as simple as thinking about it like that. See, you guys got so many things in your mind right now, don't you? So many different stuff going on. You know, something's going to happen after church. You know, something that happened just before church. Something that you can't even, 2 o'clock in the morning, staying up and I'm really tired and I can't think. But you can't have all these things, obstacles in your way when God's trying to speak to you. You got to think about these things. These things got to be, for the moments you have struggles on, how do you know how to turn on the GPS if you can't even remember that message and what it meant? That's what that message was about, having God's conscience on us. And it tells you, please turn left at the light. That's God telling you in your life, please turn left at the light. Why? Because we're headed down a path sometimes that's our own and not His will. That means an ever-changing person, somebody that wants to commit themselves and change and look at life in a different way, is one that interests God. God's an ever-changing God. And what does that mean? That the sky's not the same every day. He creates something, He goes, what am I going to do with the sun this morning? How is it going to rise this morning? Are there going to be clouds around it? What song is the bird going to sing? What are they going to sing today? Everything's new and fresh for Him. He doesn't just go, routine. You know what? Just do what we did in 1967. That was a great day. God's like, you know what? It's got to be new and fresh. And if it ain't like that for you guys, and you guys can't think of what can I do new for God today, then you're missing something, aren't you? What are you missing? You're missing God. And you're still here, and you're still making an effort. But look at that. That's inspirational to me. So what is that? That means that you have God's GPS in your heart, and God's leading you, and you just said something at the very beginning of this, that I don't need anyone but God to motivate me. I don't need my mama. I don't need my daddy. I don't need my brothers and sisters. I don't need my friends. I don't need nothing. All I need is God. And you know what you do when you do? You know what that is? Marina, we were talking about equations. That's a single equation, isn't it? You just eliminated a bunch of factors, didn't you? And it's back to what? 1 + 1 equals unity. But when you go 1 + 1 - 3 times 7, divided by 16, everybody's scratching their head now going, but when it goes back to, my daughter can answer that question. 1 + 1, 2. Me and God. That's as simple as it is, isn't it? And you'll see that joy and you'll see that happiness coming back. Why, Marina? Because it's not about your mom. It's not about your dad. It's not about your family. It's not about your friends. It's about you and God and your relationship. Same thing with you, Anthony. It's not about how you feel because your family doesn't understand you. Your friends don't understand you. The coach doesn't understand you. It's all that matters is who understands you. That's it. It's simple, isn't it? I could be right now in a pit because my wife doesn't understand me. And you guys wouldn't even know why. Because all that matters to me is that God understands me. And I put everything else on the back burner. You can ask God to guide you. We talked about that a little bit, Marina, when you talked about that Wednesday night. Remember your freedom. And I gave you the example of college. And I mentioned how's it going to be when those peer pressures come to you. On that floor that you're living on. When they say that, what decision will you make? Will it be something that inspires God, or will it be something that discourages God? So thinking about that stuff, guys, we have to be encouraged by what? By what God tells us and God shows us in our lives. Every single aspect of it. Everything from last night to today. The things we hear about, we have to record in our minds and in our hearts.